Welcome to the Money Manifestation Mastery podcast with your host, Lara Waldman, where we talk all things money. Big money, big purpose, big power. Waking up your wealth for heart-centered business owners and entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we will be reviewing the year. We'll be taking a deep dive to reflect on the last 12 months, what you've learned, what you're letting go of, what it's time to say yes to, what it's time to say no to, and you'll be getting clear on what you're taking forward into the next year and what you're letting go of. Let's dive in. It's very tempting to always be looking forward. What's next? What's to come? Or to spend time dwelling on the past. What hasn't been? What isn't? Focusing on lack and scarcity. Or simply staying in the same old habits and behaviors, not changing at all. What I like to do is consciously and mindfully connect to what has just been in order to create space to open the new doors for what's to come. This is a very powerful process of reviewing the last 12 months, which is multi-purposed. One, I'm a big advocate for acknowledging what has been, taking a moment to review and reflect, to look at what has just happened, to gather the gold, to learn the lessons, to get clear on the themes for the last 12 months. As we're doing this, we're making space and creating space for what wants to come in next. That heart, body, soul aligned, wealthy life that is ready and waiting for you. But we need to clear the decks first, get ready for what's to come by reviewing what's just been. For this process, I like to welcome your wealthy witness to look at the last 12 months, the past year, from a place of non-judgment, from the witness, from observing, free from story, free from judgment, and look at it from that eagle eyes view. You can go through your calendar, go through what's happened month by month to maybe remind yourself what happened, to remember, or you can look at the year in a general way. I have questions for you to explore, to reflect on. You may want to grab some pen and paper to write down these questions and answer these questions in your own time through journaling, through meditation, to reflect. In any year, there will be difficult experiences, hard things that have happened, but also positive experiences, good things that have happened. There'll be a mixture of both because that is life. There is difficult things and wonderful things. There are painful things and pleasurable things. And that is part of the game of life. I would like to ask you, what was the theme of the last 12 months, the last year? If you were a character in a film, how would you describe the experience that you just had? What were some of the challenges that you experienced the last 12 months? What painful things did you experience? I like to honor. I like to acknowledge and honor every part of life. The painful stuff and the good stuff. Because within the hard things, within the pain, there is so much gold. There is so much growth. There is so much to learn. Most people don't want to feel that stuff or acknowledge that stuff. But I want to go mining for gold. First, we need to look at it. We need to acknowledge it. So what were some of the hard experiences that you had? What were some of the setbacks, challenges, painful experiences that you experienced these last 12 months? I know myself, I had some very painful experiences the last 12 months, facing some old trauma, some old wounds, some old patterns and programs. And it was really hard. It really kicked my ass this last 12 months. And yet I knew that everything that was happening for a reason. It was happening for me. I was following my soul's guidance, my heart's wisdom, my body's wisdom that was helping me to move through. But it doesn't mean it's not hard. Following your guidance from your soul, from your heart, from your body, following what you want, going towards what you want, also means facing some difficult things that you need to release and let go of. And that can be very difficult. So when you acknowledge the hard, painful, challenging things that you experienced, what did you learn? What did you learn from those painful experiences? What did they teach you? What did those experiences teach you, show you, reveal to you? What did you learn? I know that painful and challenging experiences are the way that we grow the most, or the way that we learn the most. We tend to learn the most through pain and challenge. So let's gather the gold. Let's gather the gold from the last 12 months as we review your experiences this last year. Did you notice any patterns or habits of behavior within yourself that showed up through these challenges, that showed up through this pain? One of the patterns or habits that really revealed itself to me on a new level in order to help me let it go was what I lovingly call my wounded healer or my rescue complex, the part of me that's desperately trying to help people, heal people. And that's problematic for me when I'm trying to help or heal people that aren't looking for my help. I tend to do this with close friends and family who are struggling, but they actually don't want to change. I have been learning this and unlearning this for many years, but this year was the year where I decided to stop. And I decided to stop through all the pain and challenges I experienced. Life was telling me it's time to let this go. Stop this pattern of behavior. And I learned that this pattern of behavior has been this 20-year-long theme running my life that served me in so many ways, but is no longer serving me where I'm going. It's no longer helpful for where I need to go next. So I needed to have my ass kicked this year to make a really bold and brave decision to stop and to let it go. So what about you? What patterns, behaviors, or habits did you notice coming up for you this year? And in these reflections, what is it time to let go of? What do you want to leave behind in the year just past? What do you want to say goodbye to when it comes to those habits, behaviors, old stories, old ways of doing things, old dynamics? What is it time to let go of? It's important to remember that it's hard to let go sometimes. There's a very natural part of us that wants to cling on. We have attachments to certain things. Or sometimes unprocessed or unresolved pain can keep us clinging on, hoping and praying for some sort of resolution. Old resentment, old hurts can keep us looped into cycles of the past. So part of letting go requires acceptance. That's easier said than done sometimes. But we can hold a space, an invitation to help you let go. So what is that for you? What are you being asked to let go of and leave behind? The way that I let go is through conscious grieving. I call it grieving into gold. I have to grieve the loss of what was or what wasn't, that a part of me maybe is desperately trying to find or desperately trying to resolve, desperately trying to heal and fix. And in some ways that serves me, but in a lot of ways it doesn't. And that's what I've been deciding to really let go of this year. Life has taught me, life has showed me, this is no longer working. So I've had to grieve the old and let go. What about you? What is the point of all of this? What is the value of reflecting on the hard stuff, the painful stuff, the lessons, the letting go? Why do this? Well, this creates space. It's like a big clear out. It's space to release in order to let in. This is the clear out before we open the doors to new possibilities. This process can be very confronting and can be very uncomfortable. And there's a natural desire to avoid this process. But this is the value of space. Space to review, space to reflect, in order to release and eventually to receive, to welcome in what it is that you want next. So even though it's a bit uncomfortable, I highly recommend this process. So as well as the hard stuff, I like to celebrate the wins of the last 12 months, the positive experiences, the great things that happened. It's quite natural to have negative bias where we naturally focus on what isn't, what wasn't, the lack, the scarcity. It's a great process to acknowledge the great things that have happened. What are all the wins, the positive things, the things you have done, the things to celebrate? They can be big things in your business and your finances, in your personal life, but they can also be small little things, little decisions that you made. And in fact, I find those small little things the most important. The big things are great, but those small little choices or small little decisions or small little actions are actually what's going to build the future that you desire. So what would you like to celebrate? What would you like to acknowledge? What are some of the great things that happened this last 12 months? And I found that if we're open and receptive, even in the hardest experiences, there can be beautiful moments and incredible things that happen. I really experienced this after my best friend died. There was the most incredible pain of losing her. And at the same time, there was the most incredible love and connection and a leaning in that was happening. Relationships were growing because of the grief we were all experiencing together. There are beautiful things that have happened since she died. So I found that there isn't anything that's 100% bad or 100% good. There's nuance in life. And there is beauty in every moment if we're open and receptive to paying attention. So allow these beautiful moments, the big wins, the small wins, allow them to land. Allow yourself to receive them, to acknowledge them. Breathe it in. What are you celebrating about the last 12 months? And I like to give thanks, to tap into gratitude for everything I have learned, for everything I've experienced, for everything I've been through. Thanking life, acknowledging life. So what would you like to acknowledge? What are you grateful for? For the things you've experienced, for the things you've learned, for the things you've unlearned, for the growth that's happened. And if you're currently in the middle of a very difficult experience, you may not know what that gold is yet. You may not have found it. But my message to you is to trust that in leaning in, you will find the gold. It will come in time. We can't rush this process. But stay open, stay receptive, and ask, how is this painful, challenging experience here to serve me, grow me, evolve me? How is this experience here to help me? And if you're open and willing to receive this information, you will find some answers. As we review and reflect on the last 12 months and get ready to close the door on this year, we're acknowledging, we're witnessing, we're letting go, we're grieving to the old, releasing, and it takes courage to hold space, to review, to reflect, to be very honest with yourself, to hold space for the unknown, for what's to come. Staying open. I call this the void space of the in-between. Our mind tends to focus on what we're losing, or it tries to grip on for dear life to keep things as it always was. And yet, if we can hold a neutral space, you become more open and receptive for what's to come. As we close one door, we can open another door. There is always new life ready and waiting for you. New experiences that your mind may not yet be able to see, that you might not know yet. But to know, to trust that there are new doors ready and waiting for you to walk through. So as we close the door on the year just past, we give thanks and acknowledgement, bowing down to all we've learned, and breathing in to this space, the power of the present, where creation happens, and inviting yourself to stay open to what's to come, to the unknown, to new life, to new possibilities, ready and waiting for you. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. It's been a great pleasure and delight connecting with you today. Thank you for being a listener of this podcast, for being with me for the last year. This podcast was launched this last year, and it has been such a joy and pleasure to share this information with you, to connect with you, to speak with you, to share with you. And I can't wait for all the gorgeous conversations we'll be having in the episodes to come. See you then.